Sounds good. That's cool.
Oh, we're recording.
All right.
I'm Luke. This is
I'm,
Corey.
I'm Corey.
Got off to a great start. All right. Well, so I know you a little bit prior to this, so I know some of the answers to these questions, but other people won't. So what is your prior to getting into software story?
My prior to getting into software was pretty much all blue collar type stuff. I worked construction for 6 years. I worked for the railroad for 10 years. And then I was a production supervisor at the Ford plant in Kansas City for almost 2 years. So I kind of got a late start on all this.
Right. Cool, man. And so what made you want to do software?
Just every job I ever had was very like high stress and not like set hours. It was a lot of overtime, a lot of like, you're going to be here at this time. And I mean, I had weeks for Ford where I worked 84 hours in a week. And I talked to my sister's a recruiter and she talked to me a lot about this field, and it just sounded a lot more like there was a lot better work-life balance. So I guess that's what I was looking for. That was my main motivation.
There you go. There you go. And so what did you do to train yourself so that you could break into software?
I went to Hack Reactor boot camp. Well, I did it like a little bit after I talked with you. I did a little bit on free code camp, and then I did some JavaScript stuff on free code camp, and then I signed up for that boot camp and quit my job and kind of went all in.
Okay. And so where in the process did you quit your job?
Um, I mean, right before I started the boot camp, because it was full time. It was
Okay.
yeah, it was like 9 to 6 or 7 pretty much every day when I was in the boot camp. So I wasn't able to keep working and do that at the same time.
Right, right. And so you had some money saved up or something?
I was living on the severance money that I got from the railroad when I got when I got laid off.
Oh, there you go. So you had because the railroad was before Ford, right?
Right.
You just socked it away and hadn't touched it.
That was pretty much my intent, was to just keep that money and keep working and not touch it. And then the more I talked to my sister, the more I thought, if I've got this money and I can live for a few months, why not give it a shot?
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And so how long is Hack Reactor? I'm not familiar.
It was 19 weeks.
Okay, okay. And then so you what's the tech stack, I guess?
JavaScript and Python,
Okay.
web development, which has almost nothing to do with the job that I got, but
Oh,
it's just
really?
a data engineering job.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, so and that's a unique, pairing too. Usually, you see boot camps doing JavaScript and Node because Node, easier to learn. But Python, that's cool.
Well,
Yeah, Python.
we did like web applications that had Python backends and JavaScript and React front ends.
Yeah, and then Python. The other thing I was going to say is Python's like the one language, the highest on my hit list. I want to learn that one. Have never touched it, but someday. And I've been saying that for years. Cool. Well, so how did you? Oh, and backing up, I'm getting ahead of myself. When did you start, or have you started?
Work.
Yes.
I started last week, last Monday, so June 19th was my start date.
Okay. June 19th. And is a paid internship, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a duration on the internship?
It's not like a set in stone kind of thing. It's supposed to be, it says 3 to 6 months. If they keep you because I'm a contractor right now, and if they keep you as a contractor, then you get a raise after 6 months, or the goal is to get converted within that 6 months.
Okay. And the job title is,
Data engineering.
I'm sorry, what was it?
Data engineer.
Data engineer. Okay. All right. So yeah, kind of step back to get that answer, and then moving forward, how did you get this interview? Well, yeah, let's start with that one. How did you get this interview?
Well, I saw the apprenticeship job listed for launch code on LinkedIn, and I applied for that with them. And then I interviewed with them and had to do a little technical interview. And then they accepted me into their apprenticeship program. And then from there, they just wait until they find a company that they think is a match for you. And then they
Oh,
found this company, Centene, that I'm working for now. And I interviewed with them, and then I got the job.
okay, that's very interesting because I have heard of Launch Code, been to some of their talks that they, have like a speaker, and so I'm familiar with Launch Code, and that so they have like an apprenticeship program, and so they feed the people in the apprenticeship program opportunities.
Yes, and I think I kind of went about that in an unconventional way because they also have their own schooling, and I didn't go to their school, and
Right.
they'll put their graduates into the apprenticeship program, but you could interview and test to get into their apprenticeship program, and that's what I did.
Oh, that's so cool. And is it pretty competitive to get into the apprenticeship program?
I don't really know. I was actually pretty surprised compared to some of the technical interviews that I had gotten. It was definitely the easiest one. And
Okay.
so I don't really know how competitive it is. All I know is that their technical interview wasn't very difficult compared to some of the stuff that I had seen.
Okay. Wow. Oh, interesting. That's way cool. So you were on LinkedIn, you saw the apprenticeship program, and applied to that and did the screen, got in, and that fed you the interview. Um, how long had you been job hunting at that point?
I graduated from Hack Reactor in February 10th. And then I think I got accepted into the Launch Code Apprenticeship program like 2 months ago.
Okay.
So it was about 2 months from when they accepted me in the program to when they found me a company.
Okay. And did they feed you other opportunities where you interviewed prior to that?
This was the first one.
Okay. And then, you're job hunting from February to, present, right?
Yeah.
Um, were you able to generate other interviews outside of the one that got you this job?
I had a few I had a few other interviews. I had one with H&R Block that I thought was really promising, but then that didn't work out. And yeah, I mean, I had a few, not a whole lot, not nearly as many as applications I put out.
Right. And so the interviews you did get, how did you generate those?
LinkedIn, almost everything was on LinkedIn.
Cold
I
applying.
I use this thing called Hunter, Huntr. It's like a website where it's like a job hunting assistant, I guess, and you can get a Chrome extension for it. And then like it's always there. So if you go to LinkedIn, it's there and you can save jobs to your Hunter job board. And it's got categories for like applied, phone screening, phone interview, technical interview, job. You just it kind of helps you organize all because I mean, I put out over 200 applications, so you gotta kind of
Right.
try to keep track of all that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, that's helpful to people, I'm sure. Um, and so the applying was all cold applying.
For the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
My
And
sister, my sister introduced me to a few people that I talked to, but like the times are tough right now. Most people weren't hiring, or they would
right,
love to help me, but they don't have any openings right now, and all that kind of stuff.
right.
It's a
So
challenging market.
it is. Ergo, why you're sharing your story. But, it's a challenging market, but you got a job. So there's that.
And I have to tell you too, I think, just from my experience and compared to some of the other people that I went to Hack Reactor with, like one of the things you said to me stuck with me probably more than anything else was, if it's in a field where you think you're going to learn something and it's going to benefit you. Take what you can get. Because a lot of people I graduated with were trying, like, I need to make $150,000. And it was like, no, I just want to make some money and learn something was more my
Right.
approach.
Right. And once you get your foot in the door, it just changes the landscape like, night and day. Like having any experience sets you apart from the people who have no experience. It's just, you become a different candidate after you have experience. Yeah, for sure. And that's how I got my start was an internship that paid $10 an hour. And it got my foot in the door. And I'm thankful for it. Well, cool. Tell me about the interview process. And what did you say the name of the company was? S something?
Centene,
Centene?
Centene.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's that interview.
it's a healthcare company.
Okay. And tell me about the interview process.
It was actually very strange, the interview process with them. So I got an email from Launch Code that said they wanted to do an interview with me, and it would be the hiring manager and one other person from the team. So I got on there, and it was the hiring manager and one other person. And then people just kept joining, and nobody turned their cameras on. It ended up being, I think it was 7 people
Oh, yeah.
total. It
Yeah.
was it was like the majority of the team that I'm on now. And most of them, I didn't know they were in the room until they just started asking questions. But it was very strange because it was hardly technical at all. They
Oh,
asked a lot of like personal questions. It really seemed to me like more that they were relying on launch code to have vetted the people that they sent to them.
mhm.
And this interview with them seemed like it was a lot more about whether or not you were going to fit on their team personality wise.
Okay.
Because people were asking me questions about like what kind of TV shows do I watch on Netflix and stuff like that. So it was a few technical questions, but a lot more just personal questions.
Okay. And so you know the team now since you've started, right? Of the, seven or so people who are on the call, how many were technical?
All of them. There
Oh, they
were
were all developers?
well, then the manager and the team manager. The rest
Oh,
of them
okay.
were all developers.
I'm surprised they were able to restrain themselves from asking technical questions.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I talked to one guy quite a bit about LeetCode, but nothing technical. He just wanted to know what I'd been working on, and I was telling him about this website that I had a study group that used called NeetCode, where the guy kind of breaks down LeetCode problems, and we use that as a study guide. And I talked a lot about that, but nothing really technical.
Yeah. Was that through Hack Reactor, the study group?
It was just a bunch of us that after we graduated kind of started a group on Discord so we could keep studying basically data structures and algorithms, trying to prep for the kind of questions that they give you in technical interviews.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's very cool. Okay. Well, so that interview was more of a personality fit, culture fit kind of interview. What came after that?
That was it. I called the
Oh,
recruiter. I called the recruiter from Launch Code and told her I was like, that was pretty strange. I don't know exactly what that was about. And she called me back, I think an hour later, and was like, well, they're going to offer you the job. So it must have went well.
an hour later. Wow.
It was fast. It was very
That's that's a
fast.
very good turnaround. Yeah. Um, no, it's interesting because, you hear people talk about like 6 rounds, interview process, and I've never been through that. Like I've had 6 or 7 or 8 jobs, and most of them have been like one interview, like super easy. So that's very interesting. Cool. Well, so what are you doing in this job?
It's mostly, like I said, it's a healthcare company, and from what I gather, it's like number 26 on the Forbes list. So it's really big. They own a lot of like the state healthcare, like Medicaid for
Mhm.
all different states. So we have to handle all that data, and it's like a cloud engineering job. It's all Amazon Web Services. Like I said, it's a lot of stuff that I didn't do at all in Hack Reactor. That's part of the reason why I was so excited about it, because they asked me in the interview if I knew Amazon Web Services, and I said not at all, but I would be super excited to learn it.
Mhm.
So far, that's pretty much what I've been doing is all their onboarding process and taking classes about Amazon Web Services.
There you go. Yeah. AWS is a very in-demand skill.
Exactly. I mean, that's why I was so excited about this. It almost felt kind of like I should be paying them if they're teach me all this.
Right, right. Absolutely. Um, so the interview process, talk about, so you're doing the train up. So it's very fresh. So you're still doing the train up to actually start getting to the day to day, but it's more of a AWS data engineer kind of thing. Um, Going back, I guess, to the interview, can you give me, what do you think you did well in the interview?
I guess just trying to be, you know, personable and relax and not super nervous. And it was kind of I was kind of taken back, I guess, for a second at how many people were asking questions. Cause like I said, I was only expecting two, but just somebody gave me some advice to try to treat a job interview like a conversation and not so rigid and nervous, and just try to imagine it's somebody you're just having a conversation with. And their line of questioning really helped with that because it was so many personal questions. It made that part pretty easy.
Hmm. There you go. Um, so this question is very similar, and you can just tell me if you can't think of a different answer. But I'm sure they interviewed multiple people. Why do you think you got the job?
I mean, I would say probably just because I didn't really fumble at I guess at the rapid fire kind of seven different people asking questions
Right.
format that it was. It just, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I could come up with.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. And is it a remote job or is it here in Kansas City? What's
It's 100% remote.
okay. Well, where's the rest of your team out of?
A lot of them are out of St. Louis. The company's based in St. Louis. There's one other guy who's pretty cool actually that only lives about 10 minutes from me.
Oh, okay.
He's
Crazy.
he's been on the team for about a year, so I'm planning to use that resource as much as I can. We're supposed to go get coffee on Sunday,
There you
so
go.
kind of pick his brain, make sure I'm doing everything right.
Yeah, small world, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, I actually don't like we ran through the questions pretty quick. Do you have anything from the experience or while you were applying to jobs or conversations you had throughout the process that kind of like stuck out to you and you feel like I don't know, just stood out to you?
I think what has helped me the most was just like I know a lot of people when we graduated, they, kind of, well, there was kind of two groups of people. It seemed like people that wanted to take a break and people that just wanted to like keep taking more classes. And for me, it was like I treated the whole applying for jobs like that was my job. I mean, I was constant, like grinding on LinkedIn, like 5 or 6 hours a day on LinkedIn, trying to talk to people like you, trying to meet as many people as I could meet. I was reaching out to anybody that I had anything in common with on LinkedIn. Like I would just go through Hack Reactor alums and just if they worked for a company that I saw that had a job opening, I'd message them, hey, what about this job? What do you know about this? Would this be a good fit for somebody that just graduated from Hack Reactor? I mean, I don't know. It was just, I just tried to treat it like that was my job. I didn't take time off. I was up early in the morning. You know, I just, I just treated it like another job, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. No, that is cool. And so Yeah, I thought of this question. So you mentioned that study group you were in where you guys were, going through LeetCode, trying to understand it, learn data structures and algorithms. But then you're also, treating hunting for a job as like full time. How did you like what was the balance between job hunting and, learning, growing after your graduation? And then, how did you find that balance?
I think what I did was probably about, like I said, somewhere between 4 and 6 hours a day. I was probably on LinkedIn or doing some kind of what I would have considered networking, trying to talk to people that I thought could lead to leads. And then we did anywhere from like 2 to 4 hours a day on LeetCode.
Okay.
Specifically, that I would recommend that to anybody that wants to try to understand some of the stuff on LeetCode. Is that it's a website called NeetCode, NEET code. That guy has like a roadmap that you can follow, and he has videos breaking down the problems and explaining the different data structures and algorithms. So I thought that was really beneficial.
Yeah, I'll put a link to it in the description of the video so that people can find it easy. Cool. Well, so were you building projects outside of that, or was the study group kind of what you were doing to keep growing?
We mostly the study group, we kind of played around with a couple different projects to start as a group. We talked about making a game on Pi Games, and we kind of went through all the tutorials on that where you design like a little, two-dimensional kind of the character can move forward and jump up and down. And we did some of that, never really got off the ground with what we were going to do. We were mostly just going through that LeetCode roadmap.
Hmm. How many people were in your study group?
Started off, I think, 8 of us, and then people just kind of started dropping off. Had to go get jobs, regular jobs, while they were looking for jobs in software. Like I said, the market. Well, that's what this is all about. The market is tough right now, but it's possible.
Yeah, it is possible because you did it.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so talk about that. Another question I thought of when it comes to like projects you had to do through Hack Reactor, like can you tell me about like I don't know, just your projects?
Well, our final project was it was a group of 4 people, and we designed an app that was basically kind of like a managing ingredients that you had in your kitchen. It was called What the Fridge. And
Hmm.
you could basically go on there and like you went shopping, you'd go in and you'd input these ingredients that you had, and you could put expiration dates. So like you could, and they all had check boxes by them. So you'd go through and like check ingredients that you wanted to use. Like if you had stuff that was about to expire, and then the check marks fed into a third party API, and it would output recipes that you could make with those ingredients.
Hmm. And then so that was the group project, and then prior to that, throughout the course, were there projects you were making?
Yeah, we did one project that was a partner project that it was 3 modules. And the first module was just kind of a really simple, like a task manager app that we did on our own. And then the second one was like a kind of like a car dealership management where we had a service microservice and a sales microservice where you would basically manage like the sales department and the service department of a car dealership.
When so was that when you say microservice, was that all in Python then?
Yes.
Okay, okay, gotcha. Um, and then so the those two projects that were kind of like through the coursework, and so does that mean in the your project portfolio consists of 3 projects then?
Yes.
Wow, wow, and you got a job. That's amazing. Because
Yeah.
I've met people who are like, I've got 20 projects. I met one guy who maxed out his repositories on GitHub, which apparently is 99 when you're on a free GitHub. And so, it's just, it goes to show you, like, there's so much that goes into finding a job. Like, it's not just how much did you build. Like, I mean, there, and the focus you gave to, like, the actual applying, like, that is my job, like finding a job is my job, that maybe speaks to which is the more important of the two. um, yeah, well, I think.
I'm not saying that projects aren't important. I might have gotten lucky, but like I said, well, like you just said, I mean, finding the job was my job. That was how I looked at it, and I was pretty diligent about that.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that the company that landed with, like, kind of left the technical screening up to launch code, right? And then launch code doesn't make it this, like, huge gauntlet you have to go through in
Right.
order to then be eligible. Because, like, really all you have to do to be successful after you've been hired in a software role is to learn how to learn, right? Like, have the desire to, and then prove that, hey, I've learned some things, so I'm capable of learning, and I have that learning skill, and so then I can apply it to whatever job I'm placed in. And I'm just curious, but do you know of the team you're on? So it sounds pretty small, right? Like 7 people, something like that.
Yeah, that's about right.
Do you know the experience ranges? Like, so one guy had a year with the company, but then, before that, how much experience do all these people have?
Well, the guy that lives 10 minutes from me that's been there for a year, he also came from Launch Code.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about the rest of the team. I know just in the time that I've been there so far and on Teams meetings and stuff, I think I've met at least 7 people that also came from Launch Code.
Interesting.
I felt like that was pretty encouraging to me. And, like you said, somebody pretty much the person that was helping us with the onboarding process pretty much said exactly what you just said because I was kind of nervous, like what do I need to do to prove myself, to get converted and all this. And she also came from Launch Code. The person who's onboarding us and designed the onboarding documentation came from Launch Code.
Huh.
And she was like, you really just need to show a willingness to learn, a desire to learn, and an ability to learn techie things. That's what she said. That's what she said.
Techie things.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I think I can do that.
Yeah. No, and that is so cool that it's like the whole team, it's like, their story is your story. Like, it mimics your story. And man, that's so great. I love it. Well, I think we're getting close to time and we run through our questions. Do you have anything, just closing, thoughts?
I think I've pretty much given you my whole story.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm gonna hit stop here.